Welcome back, everyone. Our next guest is no stranger to show business. She's written many books and turned 2 bestsellers into movies, including the Oscar-nominated smash hit Room.
No big deal, right? The film adaptation of her novel, The Wonder, stars Florence Pugh, and it premieres today at the Toronto International Film Festival. Emma Donoghue is here to talk about co-writing the screenplay, casting the Hollywood stars, and the release of her brand new novel. Welcome to the show, Emma.
We're delighted to have you back here. Truly delighted. So congratulations on the movie. And what we know about this is a psychological thriller set in
1862 Ireland.
And 1862 Ireland. Give us some more.
It's very gothic. It's quite spooky. It brings such a fresh perspective. It's not your typical sort of Irish 19th century story of, starving peasants with fiddle music, It's a really unnerving, spookily beautiful film. And it's really all about the love between a nurse and a child patient. It's about 2 strangers who've never met and who change each other's lives. A little girl and the woman who's hired to watch her. And yeah, I can't believe that we managed to make this movie during COVID and that I'm back at TIFF with it.
Well, we're happy. We're happy.
So great. Now, here's the thing. You mentioned, what the story is about. There's a nurse who is watching over a child, and the nurse just happens to be played by one of the most sought-after actresses in the business today. That would be Florence Pugh. Everybody wants Florence Pugh in their movies right now. Okay, so for you, did you have a hand in the casting, and how do you feel? Did Florence meet your expectations? What else are you gonna say? No.
As if she would not have met my expectations. When I heard she was even considering it, I was so thrilled because I knew that what this film needed was someone to bring a wide audience to it. And Florence Pugh has such a mad fandom worldwide. When we were filming it in Ireland last August, there were always 10-year-old girls lined up in this little village, trying to get a glimpse of her. And at the end of the day, no matter how tired she was after spending all day in a corset and little heels, she would come out to hug them all, She bought donuts for the whole crew. She was just the most hardworking, cheerful, enthusiastic, and tireless team player, quite apart from her actual acting. That's the thing, when you're all making a movie together, it should be enough for them just to act brilliantly, but actually, if they're really nice people as well, it just makes it a really lovely experience, and then everybody wants to pour their energy into their work.
This is so nice to hear, because sometimes we're let down by people we admire and that we've never met. That's a beautiful, beautiful story.
She's a superhero.
No kidding, she's also a superhero.
And anytime she got a break, she would have her dog brought over so she could play with the dog in the mud for 10 minutes.
Nice.
That's good, that's good.
The story is it's based on a real life fasting girl phenomenon. I didn't know about this. So from the 16th to 20th century, this is what was happening. Yeah. And you wrote that you were intrigued by these cases that were happening in way back.
Yeah, where a girl would claim or have it claimed about her that she could live without food. It's this sort of cultural fantasy that bubbles up every now and then, this girl is so pure, so spiritual, so, above the needs of the body, so virginal, so saintly that she can live without food. It's a really odd story, and I was determined to tell it in a way which would explore a whole society through this very strange little situation.
Maybe still there are some effects of
Indeed,
that
you can
today,
see so many echoes with eating disorders today. Yeah, and it's specifically girls too.
Yeah.
It's like we're afraid of girls and their bodies and their real needs, whether for food or whether sexuality. So I think it's a really deep story, and I love the fact that Florence Pugh's nurse character is so often seen eating heartily in this movie. It's like, without even saying so, with her body, she's like, I'm having my fill of stew, I'm seizing life. And so the movie is ultimately very life-affirming and very insistent on love and on, reaching out to people you've never met before and forming these life-saving human connections.
I love it. I feel like so many authors, novelists want to stay clear of the screenwriting process, but you dig your heels into it. This is your second time around, and of course, the first film adaptation of Room, starring Brie Larson and Jacob Tremblay, was a massive hit, and you were nominated for an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay from your own work, which is I love. Are you feeling any pressure this time around, to reach those same same heights? What's that like?
No, I'm so aware of what a crapshoot it is. You know, I mean, the kind of odds of your movie happening to be an awards contender, it's all so mysterious. We had no expectations of it last time. It was a low-budget Irish and Canadian independent feature. So no, I don't feel that assumption at all. It'll probably get lots of attention, especially because of Florence Pugh. But also, we've such a strong cast across the board. We have an 11-year-old, Keela Lord Cassidy, with her first major role as the child Anna. Her mother in the film is played by her own mother, brilliant Irish actress Elaine Cassidy. So it was lovely seeing their bond. So I think the film's going to do incredibly well. But, you know, I'm just one of the screenwriters. I'm just happy to see it happen.
Just one of the screenwriters. I love it. Well, let's continue with like writing then, because you have a new book out. It's called Haven. It's the story of 3 Christian monks in the year 600 who they're trying to survive on the uninhabited island of Skellig Michael. Am I saying that right? Yeah. And that's off the Irish coast. Now, if you're a Star Wars fan, you might be familiar with this because this is where Luke Skywalker spent a lot of his time in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. So, we're linking in all kinds of pop culture references here, Emma. So why did you choose this island in particular? Are you a Star Wars fan?
No, I hadn't seen those Star Wars movies by the time I took a boat trip around the Skelligs, and I was just struck by the landscape. And then when I was, reading in the little leaflet as the boat heaved me up and down, that monks had lived there since about the year 600. Yeah. And I'm looking up at the cliffs, this incredibly vertical, spiky island, and there are stone steps cut into the cliffs by the monks. And I'm thinking, when did they cut the steps? Like, not day one. Clearly, they had a lot else to do to try and survive on there. So at what point would you build a little beehive huts out of dry stone? At what point would you build a church? At what point would you cut the steps? Where did they begin to survive on this island? And of course, they were motivated not by practical considerations like any other survivors on an island, but by, zealous religious ones. They were there to make life as hard as possible for themselves and to pray and fight off the devil. They saw themselves as like a kind of a fortress outpost of Christendom. So I knew immediately that a story of 3 men landing on that island would be a kind of a colonial parable. It's like, taking over unfilled land, and also a kind of an eco-parable of how fast can human beings trash an environment when they land on it. So I thought it would be a really rich story, and the fact that I knew nothing about early medieval times didn't stop me, because I don't know anything about the worlds in my books until I do the research. And I love doing the research.
That's an amazing thing. Like, you made that sound sexy to me.
Yeah, I know,
right? I'm like Christian monks on an island, and suddenly I'm like,
That's beautiful. Emma, we enjoy you a great deal. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, everyone, Emma's new book, Haven, is a must-read. We are going to read it. It's on shelves now, but here in our studio audience, you're going home with one today. And I hope you'll let me take this one home. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Hey there, wasn't that great? Do you know where you can find some equally good content? Our YouTube page. It's filled with discussions, debates, and some laughs. Head there now, like and subscribe.